and welcome to my season 10 review for Doctor Who. Okay, just a random little disclaimer. I think they're coming to pick up the recycling soon, so if you hear a lot of clashing and banging in the background from outside, I'm really sorry, but it's kind of that time of day, so I can't really help that. Anyway, I am just gonna get right into this because I feel like I have a lot to say. And, you know, this is Capaldi's last season. I don't know. I feel like there was so much going on. So I'm just going to get right into it. Okay, so, and as always, I'm going to be looking down at my notes because I write a lot and I don't want to miss anything. So what I found really interesting about this season, was it seemed like they were kind of going for a vibe of like revamping the show, kind of doing something a little different with the show. Maybe it kind of goes along with the whole sense of like we're introducing a new companion. It kind of seems like a break or a different start than his years with Clara. And so it kind of had this new, fresh vibe to it. But at the same time, it was also, you know, 12's final season. So there was a lot of, you know, you want to kind of pay homage to the Doctor that he was at the same time. So we're kind of going for a very nostalgic feel, but we're also going for kind of like a fresh and new feel, which I felt was slightly conflicting. But it was kind of, I feel like, what the writers had to accomplish. And so I felt like just even thinking about that, I feel like it was kind of made the vibe of the season a little off kilter a little bit. However, I love this season, by the way, so I'm not like shitting on it by any means. So the format of the season I felt was very interesting. So I'm going to talk about the first 5 episodes because I feel like the first 5 episodes were for sure the type of episodes that are, you know, very introductory. I weirdly, and I don't know if anybody's made this type of comparison before, but the initial excitement that Bill has, the initial wonder and, you know, kind of willingness to sort of be kind of along for the ride or whatever is very reminiscent to, I feel like, Rose's first few episodes. And I don't know if anybody's kind of a simple life, a plain girl or anything, and then this like the wonderful doctor comes into her life and really changes everything. And I don't know if anybody's ever made that parallel before. I'm sure they have, but I don't know if you agree. I think that there was something very similar. I don't think their personalities are maybe the exact same, but I think that those initial episodes, it was very reminiscent of that in a lot of ways. The episodes, here's the thing. The episodes are all good, if not great, I think. You know, you guys can argue because I'm sure you will. But for me, I thought they were all really good. They were all really great, but none were like super standout, either reaction-wise or like had like some big significant moment. So I really felt like the first 5 episodes really went back to the basics, which really honestly plays into the whole teacher-student theme that we've been kind of going along with for the majority of Capaldi's run, which I quite like that we kind of did go back to the basics. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like this, if you showed the first few episodes to somebody who's never seen Doctor Who before, it would be a great introduction for them. Now, I know that like chronologically you would want them to get the context of everything else, but if you just think about those episodes, they really dealt with a lot of kind of Bill finding out things about the doctor that, were kind of things that we all knew. But kind of interesting to have it through her eyes. I really think so. So there's a very bizarre thing with me when it comes to rewatching episodes. The ones that I rewatch all the time, and there's quite a few, especially in recent years, that I rewatch a lot when I kind of just want something to either cheer me up or whatever. Like there's a couple of episodes that I rewatch, and there is what I like to call like a very rewatch factor. Normally it's not the big episodes. Like, you guys would probably be pretty like surprised at like the ones that I rewatch the most. They're normally not the big episodes. They're normally like nice stories, not anything terribly too, I don't need to be crying on my couch every night kind of thing. And I feel like a lot of these first episodes have that sort of rewatch factor. A nice story, stuff that I kind of really enjoy, but maybe not the most intriguing plot-wise in the grand scheme of things. We had the whole mystery of what was in the vault, but other than that, there wasn't a whole lot that tied them all together, except for the relationship that was building between the Doctor and Bill. And that's kind of the main thing that I really did take away. There's something about the fact that these episodes were so simplistic in that manner that the moments between the Doctor and Bill kind of building their relationship was really stood out. I feel like in these episodes, you really kind of got a grasp of how they cared for each other, what they were willing to do for each other, the teacher-student relationship they had, and all of that stuff. I quite loved that those moments really shone through, whereas I feel like sometimes with other seasons, with other companions, and some I've absolutely adored and some maybe not as much or whatever, it kind of, sometimes they get a little overshadowed by the plot. And I like that these episodes really showcased some really beautiful moments and really built that relationship between the two. So then we get, moving on with the format of the season, we get into the 3-parter, which I adored. I know that there's mixed opinions on it, but this is my review, so I'm going to talk about how I loved it. So I liked this 3-parter. I felt like it was the right time because, yes, I felt like I wasn't getting like super long plots or anything in the first like few episodes. So I was like, oh my Lord, I need something, you know what I mean? Like, I really need something to kind of pique my interest. And I think that was the exact right time. We have a couple of standalone episodes, some great stories, I think, but now let's get a little more mind-bending, and what I think Moffat does very well. So we get into it is a 3-parter, but I liked that each episode was very different. It kind of seemed like a trilogy that you're watching more than a 3-part episode that's just a continuation of the story. And I loved that each single one, because I think if you go into the comment section right now and people start talking about, well, I liked this episode the best, I liked this episode the best, I liked part 3 the best, whatever, I feel like there would be very different views. Though it is all part of one story, it's definitely like there's kind of something for everyone, I feel like, when it comes to the plot of these episodes. So I quite loved that. I know that a lot of people don't like the resolution, and that's kind of the main issue that a lot of people have. They don't like the whole, like, thing that happens a lot in Moffat's writing, which is like love trumps all and it saves the day and whatever. I get it. But when I think of that particular final bit, what I take away from it more than that, disregarding that, is I love that Bill, it was a big moment for Bill. It was a big moment where she stepped up, where I'm going to go into that a little bit more when I get into Bill a little bit more, but I think that it's just a beautiful moment where she kind of goes from being this like student that is just amazed by all of this stuff that she's seeing to really stepping up and doing what she needs to do, and kind of coming into her own in that regard. So I actually quite like that ending in that sense. It was a beautiful moment, and I don't like that it gets slightly overshadowed by the fact that a lot of people don't like the resolution of the episode, if that makes sense. I liked that we kind of got a bit of the reveal of what was in the vault. I loved it even more that it was Missy. I mean, come on. You guys know how I feel. Love her. Love her. Love her. So, and I think that it was the right time to reveal it. I will say the timing of this three-parter seemed on point for me, because not only was it kind of the right time to really bring in some more complex storytelling, but I also loved the fact that we didn't drag on the vault thing all season long. Because I think for some reason, because there are some things that, like when season 5 did the kind of the crack thing, we did get glimpses about it and stuff, but they kind of stretched that out all season long. But that, for some reason, I was okay with that. I felt like there was a lot going on and a lot of things I loved that, you know, kind of took me, you know, I wasn't super focused on that. And for some reason with the vault, I feel like I was a little bit like, all right, what's in it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how much longer I can wait and see. So I was very, very happy with the fact that they revealed it, and extra ecstatic that it was Missy. And I felt like it was a satisfying conclusion to that, but you might not agree. I don't know. What I love is the three parts and in the way that I view it. And if I had to pick one of the three that I loved the most, I don't know the answer to that question, if I'm being honest. I feel like I did really like the first. I thought the first part was pretty interesting. Maybe it would be that one, but but the ending to the second part was really crazy. I don't know. I don't even know what I would pick. Anyway, but I loved that the first part, Extremis, was really questioning the reality that you're in. I felt like it literally, that whole episode could have been an episode of like Black Mirror or Twilight Zone. You know what I mean? Like, if it was Twilight Zone, I feel like we would have found out that the aliens just took over the earth and they would have ended it there, because a lot of times Twilight Zone does not have happy endings, and stuff like that. Like, I feel like it kind of had that vibe, which I was really into. In the pyramid at the end of the world, I quite loved that it was sort of like questioning freedom and how high do you put free will and things like that. I loved that so much. I felt like it was really, that is just something that's so fascinating to me that I really love that they delved into. And then Lie of the Land, I felt like was really about questioning yourself and what limits are you willing to go to kind of defeat evil. What are you willing to sacrifice? And I liked that they really kind of went into that a bit. So in general, I actually really loved the three-parter, and I think it was the right time for it. So we go into the next two episodes that I felt like were just not the best of the bunch. They didn't blow me away. And to be completely honest, I loved the resolution. I'll get to the final three in a second. I loved where we got. I wish, if I had one wish that I could say something, I would sacrifice one of those episodes, this next two, to do a very Missy and 12 centric episode where we kind of see, where they really explore the nitty gritty of like, is she changing? Is she not? Is 12 helping her? Maybe not. It doesn't even have to have a resolution at the end of what happened, because that really gets addressed in the finale more so. But I really would have liked something exploring that. One, because I felt like the Missy arc was just a really great arc for season 10. And two, I think we could have gotten some amazing, impeccable scenes between Michelle and Peter. Those two, I think, have chemistry that is off the fucking charts. And if I had a wish, I probably would have had one of those episodes be something with the two of them. And I think it would have been really kind of a great thing to explore. Anyway, that's just how I feel. You probably don't agree. So obviously I think the finale ended on a very, very high note for 12. And I think it did a very good job of showcasing all of the supporting characters, right? But also really showcasing 12 brilliantly. Who he is, who he's become, and everything like that. I just think that these three episodes were very, very well done. They wrap up his story wonderfully, and I'm so, so happy about that. We got a lot. I feel like these three had everything. We got some interesting plot. We got Cybermen, and you guys know how I feel about Cybermen. Oh my God. You guys know how I feel about Cybermen stories. I have a deep love for them, even the ones that maybe aren't that great. I kind of love a little bit. I don't know. I have a thing with Cybermen. I don't know what it is. But anyway, I was obsessed with that. I feel like there was great plot with everything, but I also feel like the emotional moments and the acting and the writing for those emotional beats were perfection. I was so happy about that. And I don't know, I just feel like they did such a great job in those final three episodes. You know, there might be a couple of things that you didn't like, or maybe you didn't like them at all. I mean, you can let me know. But for me, there might have been like a handful of things like, oh, I didn't really like that, but whatever. But, you know, in general, I think that they're three phenomenal episodes, a great two-parter, and then a wonderful Christmas special saying goodbye to 12. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about kind of the characters a little bit, and just kind of get into, because you guys know that I love like the really fleshed out characters, and I feel like they did a great job this season for having just one season. So let's talk about Bill. And like I said, right off the bat, there's something to me very relatable about Bill. Now, I think the beauty of Doctor Who is that you can relate to so many, everybody relates to somebody different. I love that. I love that, you know, every single person that I talk to has a different favorite companion and a different, and just because we like different companions, guys, we don't have to argue. A lot of my best friends that like I talk to Doctor Who about are like, they all like different companions than me, and it's okay. Anyway, that's my lecture for the comment section for the day. But what I love about Bill, and I don't know, she's not like the top of my favorite companions. Hey, Mickey, how you doing? But like, she's not the top, but she is very relatable. There is something, I feel like if we had a little more time with her, she would have gotten there, you know what I'm saying? But like, I think for me, I loved in the first few episodes that she really assumed the student role, which I've talked about this at length at the end of my reactions if you watch them, that it was a really nice contrast I felt from Clara. And I don't prefer one or the other. I'm just saying it was about time that we kind of moved to somebody who wasn't kind of competing for that teacher role with 12, like I've talked about that Clara kind of did. And I just absolutely love that, you know, every single place. I love at the beginning of Thin Ice in particular that she like is asking questions and like, she says something like, if I step on a butterfly, like, is it gonna have a ripple effect in time? That's what, like, I'm a paranoid, crazy person. And I'm also a person who's very like, I don't know the right term, but like afraid of getting in like any trouble. I am not a troublemaker. If I figure out what the rules are, I am like, okay, I'll follow them. I promise. Like, you will not see me like taking any risks or anything. And I kind of felt like, I mean, she really stands up for what she believes in and stuff. I don't think that's really the same thing, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like she was like really trying to be like, okay, what are the rules? What can I not do? Like, this is some shit and I need to make sure that everything's gonna be okay. And then I'm not gonna like randomly, inadvertently like kill my grandmother and then I'm never born, you know? Like, I mean, that's just, you know, I don't know how you inadvertently kill your grandmother with, you know, stepping on a butterfly, but maybe it'll happen. You don't know. Anyway, but I absolutely kind of really love that mentality that she had. Also, what was really wonderful about the fact that she was kind of looking to 12 for guidance, it really made him shine a lot more, I feel like, in this season. There were a couple of moments, especially early on in the season, that I was just, oh, my heart was melting. And I already loved 12, but it just, he had these like really stellar little moments that I felt like he really had his time to be like, I'm here, I'm the doctor. And I think that Bill was a great supporter for 12. If that makes sense. Anyway, I kind of talked about this when I was talking about the three-parter. I liked that it seemed like the three-parter was, we did see a lot of the doctor, but a lot of it was through Bill's eyes. And it was kind of interesting to see like her say, you know, her kind of with Nardole in the first episode at the end, kind of figuring out that they're in, you know, kind of a simulation, if you want to call it that. And then like her talking to the doctor, and that was really kind of crazy. I loved the fact that, you know, she had to make a decision, and a lot of people probably were not content with that decision at the end of the second part, but she made it. You know, it was one of those things where she was like, it's all up to me now. And I felt like there was a lot of growth for her character, and obviously the what I talked about in the third part, I felt like there was a lot of growth for her character within those 3 episodes, which was quite beautiful. I think that they handled that very well. If nothing else, if maybe the plot wasn't all there or anything like that, but I really loved the way that they handled Bill in those 3 episodes. Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. So, talking about World Enough and Time and that final bit. And the thing about World Enough and Time was, I mean, just a stellar episode, but I think that Bill particularly, I mean, to see her kind of put into the horrors and see how long she'll wait. And it was a beautiful story that had a very tragic ending. I felt like a tragic ending, at least for me. There is part of me, now let me try to explain this correctly. There is part of me that really wants, like, sometimes I really like a sad ending to stay sad. There is something very therapeutic about a tragic ending and having to cope with that and really grieving for that and stuff like that. Like, there's something that I kind of like my heart getting ripped out and stomped on. I'm not entirely sure why. I probably need to see a therapist for it. But I really do like that vibe. Now, I know that a lot of people don't like that the tragic endings a lot of times in Doctor Who end up not being so tragic. There's always a silver lining, right? There's always something that kind of helps the companion that we've lost, live on in some way or whatever. And I wrote this phrase down so many times in this fucking review, I can't even tell you. And that is where there's tears, there's hope. I took it as like a metaphor for Doctor Who in general. If I want to, watch something and get a sick feeling in my stomach and say, that was just depressing, and I don't, like, I'm going to watch an episode of Black Mirror, I'm going to turn on True Detective. When it comes to Doctor Who, I'm not sure how much I crave that. I like that the show stands for something that's a little bit like there is hope. And so even a lot of these tragic ends maybe don't have, again, silver lining, I think, is the best way to put it, to make you understand where I'm coming from. What I love is that, tears, more often than not, essentially tears mean you care. You care. Whether they're happy tears, whether they're sad tears, you care. And caring about something, having empathy for something, having sympathy, but whatever you want to describe it as, does give you hope. No matter how nasty the world can be, no matter how horrible circumstances can be, if you care, that shapes the person that you are, and there is hope at the end of that. I loved that there was they tied in the beautiful symbolism of the tear. The tear is just such a beautiful and tragic shot coming from the Cybermen. It's probably one of my favorite shots of the entire series. I loved it. The cry. And I waited. Like, it just means so much. Where there's tears, there's hope. I mean, really. Oh my God. Chills. I also think that it's kind of interesting that that's sort of symbolically what kind of gave her a second chance at the end of it. In all honesty, let me be honest. When Heather showed up, or Puddle Girl as I affectionately call her, I was like, what? I was not prepared. I really want to know what you guys thought about that, because I just sat there and was like, what? Why are you here? And like, I understood, like I comprehended why, but I was so focused on like Bill and the doctor, and then she's just showing up and I'm like, hey bitch, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Like, it was something. It was definitely something. But I did love that it was kind of, the tear that saved her, and that really ties into the whole idea of where there's tears, there's hope, which was a pretty, big running theme in this season, but it's also, I feel like, a theme for just Doctor Who in general. I just think, and it makes me really happy. that was kind of really brought to the forefront. And that's how I feel about that. Okay. Let's talk about Nardole for a second. So obviously I love Nardole. I think he is just one of the best, like, good times of a character that the show has had for a while. He's just funny. He's a good time. I'm just, honestly, I loved it. He's obviously there for a lot of comic relief, which I felt like was very needed. I feel like the show needed a good, somebody that can make you laugh. And I felt like that was really, I don't know. To me, I felt like it was really needed after some kind of very depressing shit that has happened in recent seasons and stuff like that. I loved that they kind of gave him a badass sort of a vibe too. So he was like funny, but he was also badass. Like, I was just really all about that as well. But I love that they kind of did show him a lot of growth as well. It wasn't as focused on as Bill or the Doctor or Missy or anything like that. But I felt like throughout time, and there's something about his loyalty to the Doctor, and I think it's possible that you can kind of say that he could be just everything. Sorry, that's my ice machine if you heard that. If you think about how long he stayed with him after the whole thing with River and really kind of being there for him, I just felt like it was a really important thing for Nardole. I felt like there was growth with how much he cared. And especially at the end with everything that happened in the scene and the Doctor falls, I feel like he genuinely cared. And I feel like he loves Bill. I feel like he loves the Doctor. And I really loved watching his journey within this season. Basically, he was only in this season, so yeah. Okay. Here's where I need your help. I need clarification on something. I need to know, because here's the thing. Let me talk to you about the Doctor Falls and my reaction to it. I felt like death. I don't think it shows, because I was like really trying. I was like, this is the season finale, just keep it together. By the beginning of it, and I got through all of like World Enough in Time and I was okay. Beginning of it, I felt a little off. By the end of it, my throat was like in pain. I had a massive headache. There was like, I was barely holding it together. And the 2 days after I recorded it, I was like out of commission with like the worst cold ever. So, I mean, it was just the start of something. And I remember, just because of how I felt with that reaction, I was like, this is going to be such a bad reaction, and it's the finale, and it was like, I was kind of depressed about it. Anyway, so I don't know if I missed something, and I feel like maybe I did, so you guys can let me know. This is why I need your help. So so the Doctor stayed and like sacrificed himself and is just being a badass motherfucker. He's there with Bill. But like, it was established, right? And maybe I missed something. It was established that it was just like he was buying everybody time. Eventually the Cybermen would find more people, all the people that went with Nardole. Do we get no resolution about what happened? Did he say anything in Twice? I don't think so. Maybe he did. I don't know. Please let me know if I just missed something or if we really just didn't get any resolution of what happened to Nardole after that. Because your girl wants to know, okay? And I'm gonna, take it with a grain of salt that like, maybe I missed something because I felt like death. By the way, though, to be a little sassy back to you, because I get sass from you guys sometimes. I noticed 11's line. Everybody's like, she had no clue. Why would I put in the reaction and I had a quizzical look like, oh, I feel like he's glitching. Like, I'm sorry that I didn't burst into tears like all of you thought I would, but like I was slightly more concerned about like, why is he reciting all of these past regeneration lines? Like, I'm concerned. Sorry, I don't mean to be too sassy, but man, do you guys like to message me when you think I don't notice stuff. Anyway, so now I am going to get into the beloved, maybe not for you, but for me, Missy. So probably my favorite part of the entire season is quite possibly Missy's arc, and obviously, I've said this so many times, I wish it was explored more. I wish we got to see more about her arc. Okay, here's the thing. There's some things that it's difficult for me to really explain or explore as much because I haven't seen kind of the origins and everything in classic Who. So once I get there, I'll let you know how I feel. The way that I take it a lot of the time is that there is a desire for Missy to be friends with the Doctor in her own warped way, to be, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this, to stand side by side with the Doctor, maybe. That was kind of a point that got brought up. But her either nature or nurture, again, I didn't see the beginning of the Master, so it's difficult for me to express that, really kind of prevents her not to, her love for chaos or, you know, things like that. And I can't wait to get into that. I can't wait to explore it and see kind of where it all starts and everything like that. But that's kind of the thing that I have a bit of like a issue with, maybe a little bit, because I don't really know exactly where it all starts, and I don't have as much context as maybe some of you guys do. However, that's what I take from it. And there's kind of something about who she is, and she normally just doesn't fight it. But the moments throughout this season, the ones that, like, you know, where she seems like she's coming around, were just little nuggets that you could just cling on to, at least for me. And I was just like, oh, I'm here for it. Ugh. And those little bits were, to me, some of the most powerful moments of the entire season. Going into kind of the final bit, I have written here, I'm so proud of myself. What is wrong with it? I've written here, the final Master Missy scene was masterful. That was so funny. Thanks, past self. But in all seriousness, it was brilliant. It was phenomenal. They killed each other. I mean, really, honestly. I loved, and by the way, let me just say, John Sim in these last two, yes, you did great. He did wonderful. And the scenes between the two of them were just, I could eat them up. They were like psychotic and beautiful all in one, and I loved it. I was here for it. I really enjoyed the, you know, kind of these scenes that they got to play off of each other. And I wish there was more. Here's the thing. I don't really know what I wish, because part of me thinks I really would have loved to see more of that in the finale. I would have loved to see a little back and forth and just more of that. However, it is also 12's kind of final finale, so it's like I also don't want anybody to really take away from, you know, him. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think there's any sort of correct answer to that. Anyway, but just the idea that it was really the perfect ending for both of them. And maybe I can cling on to some sort of hope that Missy isn't dead. Fingers crossed, because I want to see her again and I love her. Okay. I loved that they did kind of a redemption arc for her. I mean, I think there's some characters in shows that I watch that I don't really need that redemption arc for. I love like a villain to stay a villain and stuff like that. But for her, I think it worked really, really well and I was very happy about it. And it is just the most tragic thing. And I think that one of the things that really breaks my heart more than anything is that the doctor doesn't know that she, I mean, maybe somehow he knows, but you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't know that she really kind of wanted to stand by his side at the end. And if she did stand by his side, I mean, it's an interesting question. Would there have been any sort of a different outcome, do you think? I don't know, but I did love how they kind of had this parallel of them both lying on the ground at very, maybe not exactly at the same time, but very close scenes. And I loved that they were kind of both, I don't think they were lying in the same position, but they were both kind of lying on the ground and accepting their fate, so to speak, which I found to be really, really interesting. And I quite loved that. All right, enough of me talking about Missy, though. I could go on forever. Let's get into 12 because, you know, it's about 12. It's about 12 right now. It's about 12. So, I talked about this when I was talking about Bill. I did feel like with having a more like simplistic stories and a companion that wasn't competing so much was very beneficial to Capaldi's last kind of run as Doctor. I quite enjoyed it. I loved it. I think that he did like a great job and he was able to shine a little bit more. His personality came through a little bit more and I quite loved it. It wasn't very overshadowed by Clara's complex relationship with him, which I also enjoyed exploring that as well. I just think for his final season, it was a good call in general. I do like that as much as that freaking line where he's like, I'm still blind. Is the corniest thing ever. I love you, 12, but that's corny. I did like how the blind plot line really kind of showed that he can still have obstacles. It's kind of hard to challenge 12 in a very kind of personal way after Heaven Sent, right? You know what I mean? Writing wise, how are you going to top that for your final season? And I'm not saying they did top it, but I'm saying I like that they kind of found a new way to have him have to overcome something. You know what I mean? Like, and because after that, you're like, man, I mean, I don't know. Like, I would be in the writer's room like, yep, that's it. That's all she wrote. But I quite enjoyed that they really kind of explored another obstacle for him to overcome, even though I feel like he did overcome it and he was, you know, I like that they kind of threw that in there because of that. Because then everything would just be too easy, wouldn't it? What I love when I absolutely loved the speech in The Doctor Falls. It's quite possibly one of my favorite speeches that Capaldi gave. There's a couple. There's a few that really stick out. But that one, really, when he kind of talked to both of, you know, the Masters. It's just, there's just something about, like, it doesn't matter if you win and you have to try, and like, that's, you know, you have to. And I ate it up. I was so in love with that scene. At the time I felt like I was dying, but I felt it in my heart. I felt it in my core. I absolutely adored it, and it just made me really happy to kind of know that they gave 12 such a wonderful, you know, he really does great with kind of speeches or monologues or longer lines and stuff like that. He really sells it and stuff like that, and I loved that, and I'm very happy that they gave him that within all of this. So what I love about 12 is there's so much growth with his doctor. Now, I actually am of the mind that I think there's growth with almost all of the doctors. I feel like there's a significant story that was told with all of the doctors. But what I love about Capaldi is I feel like his seasons are like stages in somebody's life. Generally, not everybody leads the same life. I'm gonna disclaimer with this, what I'm about to say. I feel like season 8, which, by the way, ages very well for me. I don't know if I've said this yet, but like, I'm very fond of season 8. Who knew? Anyway, season 8 is kind of the younger version of yourself when you're just starting to find your identity. Probably 20s, around that time in your life. And you are a know-it-all. You know what's best, and nobody can tell you any different. And that was 12 with season 8. I mean, really. The sass was on another level. It was just, you know, I don't know if he's really ever lost his sass, but I mean, like, it was really there for season 8. And I feel like that was kind of that type of season, and maybe a significant event, kind of learning more about yourself. And he even kind of says at the end of season 8, I'm an idiot. And he has this revelation of like, wow, maybe I don't know it all. Then we get into season 9, which I feel like is kind of the middle life sort of season. Obviously, you can make the parallels for a midlife crisis with the glasses and riding in on a tank and the guitar, though I'm here for that, and I don't think that's like a midlife crisis. That I just think that it's like King, I love you. Anyway, and this is when life really happens. He experiences pain, he experiences grief. It's that time where you get hit in the teeth by what life can bring to you. He loses Clara, and he loses River. It's a lot all at once, even though he doesn't remember Clara's face. You know what I mean? But it's still a lot of pain. That was like the real season that like, whoosh, you're just gonna get hit. And then season 10 was kind of the wiser. You know, I've gone through the shit in my life. He's older now. He's wiser. He's imparting his wisdom, and he seems to be slightly more at peace and very comfortable with who he is. That always just really stuck out to me. And let me know if you agree with that assessment, because maybe you don't. But I felt like you could really see the different stages of 12 with each season, which I really loved. I love that we got to explore all of these different sides to him. Going back to what I said before, where there's tears, there's hope. I swear I love this line, and I maybe am making a bigger deal out of it than it is. I love that 12's last season and his last words were imploring all of us to be better versions of ourselves. When I hear that phrase, where there's tears, there's hope, the tears, I feel like, can be anything bad going on, or can be caused by anything bad going on. Something personal to you, something wrong with the world that you don't like, something that makes you depressed. If you cry about it, there's hope, because that means you care. And I love that 12, in and of himself, implores you to do something about it. I mean, obviously he has the anti-war speech, which was really big. But, if you think about, when a lot of times within season 8, Clara kept thinking like he doesn't care, because he kept kind of moving on to the next thing, which was explored, for example, in The Mummy, into the Dalek a bit. And there was different times that was really, that whole mentality was explored. And it's because he does care. He needs to do, you can sit and cry about it, but you have to do something about it. You know what I mean? So the first step of it all, though, is to be sad about it. And I love that 12, I felt like his last moments and stuff like that were really about imparting wisdom to all of us. Where there's tragedy, you can find the hope. And it's up to you to make a difference. And obviously he repeats be kind over and over and over, because that's where we start. All of our differences in the world, all of our whatever, be kind. And then maybe we can get there. I love that. I love it. But yeah, I mean, I think that when I think of 12, I think of 12 as a very loving hard ass that really wants us all to be better versions of ourselves. And I quite love that. I quite find, I mean, it's no secret that him and 11 are my favorites. 11, obviously. And I think they kind of have different mentalities. I think 11 is he gets excited about who you are. You know what I mean? He loves you for you. And like, really, how many times has 11 come up to somebody and been like, oh my God, and he gets so excited and he loves who you are and what you've become and stuff like that. Whereas 12 is kind of pushing you to be better at all times. I always think of it that 12 is the angry grandpa you're gonna learn those life lessons from, and 11 is the fun-loving grandpa who's going to really pick you up when you're down. That's just how I feel about that. Anyway, all right, so now we are going to get into my top 5 episodes for the season. I'm gonna try to go quick because I feel like I've been talking for a very long time, and I'm sorry. If I'm ever going to get this out, this is gonna take forever to export. So, top 5 episodes. I have a couple that might be a little shocking. I'm not really sure. We'll see. Number 5. I feel like this is the shocking one. I feel like this is the one that you guys are like, what? I don't know. Maybe you like it. I don't know. And that is Smile. I quite love Smile. Out of a lot of the first few episodes, that's the one that I really gravitated towards. I actually thought it was a very beautiful look into grief and how we cope with grief, and how grief is just so damn confusing. And especially, I think it's a beautiful look into grief from the perspective of somebody who's grieving and somebody who's like close to somebody who's grieving. Because somebody who's grieving is going through the grief process and people are telling them that it's going to get better or whatever, maybe smile, like that kind of thing. But there's also like the people that are close to somebody who's grieving that are kind of also mourning the loss of like, maybe they'll never be the same again kind of vibe. And I think that it was such a great, and I love the moments between Bill and the doctor in this episode. I loved that she really kind of got thrust into, honestly, a quite terrifying situation. and I loved kind of the resolution of everything. So I mean, I really loved Smile, and I think maybe sometimes I'm wrong because I don't really read the comments and stuff. Soon I'll be able to, though. I'll eventually be caught up with you guys, which is exciting. But I don't really read the comments a lot, so I don't know, but I feel like it's not people's favorites, but I quite loved it, and yeah, I think it's great. Number 4, if you count it for this season, but I'm counting it for this season because I didn't count it for the last season, it is the return of Dr. Mysterio. Why is that number 4? Why is it so high on my list? Well, let me tell you, I think it's a good fucking time. I love watching it. I have rewatched it, and it's just one of those ones that, like I said, rewatch factor, put it back on. There's something really fun about the episode, and it's something really lovely that, you know, the Doctor kind of came into his own in this episode, and I adore it. I adore it. It's just, I really can't say too much. I loved how he interacted with Nardole, and he also had some very, very beautiful moments as well. I mean, there was some, but it was also just a good time, and I quite enjoyed it. And sometimes I feel like the really fun episodes of Doctor Who get outshined by the very emotional episodes of Doctor Who, with good reason. I mean, we will like to feel the emotions and stuff. Like, I kind of agree with that as well, but sometimes I think very fondly of some episodes that maybe some people think maybe are forgettable or anything like that, but I absolutely adore them. So yes, I love it. Absolutely love it. Number 3 for my favorite episodes is the 3-parter. I lumped them all together because, guys, I can do what I want. I already talked about this 3-parter a bit. So, I mean, honestly, it was just, I felt like they were all amazing concepts. Maybe some were executed slightly better than others. And it really showed how the Doctor had to overcome things, where Bill had to kind of shine as a companion in and of herself. And I think that they gave Capaldi a lot of great material to work with and a lot of fun things to do. And obviously I loved the reveal of Missy and all of that. It just made me super happy. So I was really, really happy with that 3-parter. Anyway, number 2 on this list is Twice Upon a Time. I loved the incorporation of the kind of laying down your guns and everything, that event, especially for 12. There was just, it really fit into, and I talked about that at the end, the reaction, but I absolutely loved that was a very, very important part of 12's final kind of outing. I loved that they kind of, you know, had him say goodbye to Bill, say goodbye to Nardole, say goodbye to Clara, really see his companions. I loved that. I gotta say, at the end of The Doctor Falls, I was a little concerned. I'm not gonna lie. There was a part of me that got a little protective. It's the best way to put it. Protective of my 12 when the first Doctor showed up. Now, nothing against, like, David Bradley and his preferred, stellar, loved it, beautiful, was very happy. But my initial reaction was like, excuse me, this is 12's last episode. I got real sassy real quick. Excuse me, this is 12's last episode. Why is there another Doctor here? He is not sharing this spotlight, bitch. You know, like, I was so upset about it. So I was worried about it going into it. I think they handled it very, very well. The first Doctor was there and had some wonderful moments, some questionable moments, but in general, 12 did really shine, and I quite loved that. I loved that they talked about testimony And I think it was really fitting, not just for 12's final episode, but maybe the final episode under the showrunner, under this era. Because there's a lot of changes coming, right, in the next season. And what I love about Testimony is kind of a metaphor that, like, your favorite doctor will always live on in your memories. Now, I obviously talked about how I actually got depressed when I thought about that, because I thought about the whole thing with memory loss. And anyway, that's, you can go to the reaction for that. But I do love that, like, no matter what was your golden era, what was your golden era? 10 and Rose? Was it, 9 and Rose? Was it 10 and Donna? Like, whatever it is, 11 and Amy, like, whatever it is, they live on in your memories. And I love that they kind of bring that, because it is a show that is so driven by change, and things will change. I do get into 11's final words and I'll cry, but I think that, like, change is important. And of course it's not, you'll always look fondly on that time of Doctor Who. And for those of you that, 12 was your doctor, I feel like it was probably resonated very well with you, that, like, your memories are going to live on with him being your doctor and how much you loved him. I loved, and I said this again, I said this before, but, I love that 12's final words were kind of him sort of giving us final advice before he leaves as the doctor, and I quite loved that. And number 1 is The World Enough in Time and The Doctor Falls. I think The World Enough in Time is probably one of the most, just very impeccable episodes of Doctor Who. The last few minutes of that episode was one of my favorite things to react to. It was one of my favorite things to watch. I just had a blast. They were coming swinging right and left with twists and turns and emotions and what the fuck. I loved it. And the whole episode in general is just really creepy and, like, genuinely terrifying. And then they were Cybermen and I lost my shit. Like, I lost my shit. Anyway. You know that I love Cyberman stories, but I feel like The Doctor Falls was very different in tone and stuff like that, but I still absolutely adored it. I think there's just something really beautiful about the fact that they had very, very strong emotional moments in that one, whereas the first one was kind of really about, like, the story and what's happening, and I'm confused, and we had, Bill coming to terms with that she's a Cyberman. We have Missy's arc kind of coming to a conclusion, Nardole's goodbye. We have, 12 and his final moments with the Masters, and his final moments, his last stand. And then we have, obviously, Bill, feeling the pain and seeing the Cyberman body drop and everything like that. It was just a very beautiful, beautiful showcasing. So those are my top 5 favorite episodes of season 10. So now what I am going to do is just I'm just going to chat a little bit. I'm going to make it quick because I've been talking for a while and I know that some of you have already checked out. I hear ya. The one thing that I do want to say at the end of this review is I don't think it's a secret to anybody that the show under Moffat has spoken to me on a very emotional level. I've really enjoyed it. Though I haven't been super stellar excited and loved every single episode, in general, it means a lot to me. It really does. And I'm gonna say I'm optimistic for a new showrunner and everything like that, But I feel like I need to say that I'm also very sad that this has come to an end. I'm very sad about that. And I really hope that my love for it continues on, and I'm very excited to explore. Change has to happen, guys. It has to happen. But I kind of just wanted to say that not only am I going to miss 12, I feel like I'm gonna miss some of the writing. Maybe, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see where they go. Now, just to talk to you guys, give you some sort of updates for Doctor Who December. I cannot believe that I am doing this again. If I'm being completely honest, I'm insane, and I've just kind of mapped out my schedule for the next about month and a half, and oh boy, I'll sleep in January. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So just to to let you guys know, you won't be seeing anything from me until December 1st in regards to Doctor Who. All of my other shows keep going on. It's gonna be 31 days of Doctor Who. I have a lot of really great things planned. And just like forewarning, I did tweet about this the other day. This will be the last time that I do a Doctor Who December. It's a lot of work, obviously. I also don't really want to beat it to death. You know what I mean? Like, I have great ideas for all of the days this year. But after that, I feel like I'd kind of be scraping for ideas, and I don't want to give you a half-assed whatever December. So, in all honesty, I'm so excited to do this for you guys, but it will be the last time. I might do a countdown to something at some point with more Doctor Who content and stuff like that, but it's not going to be a 31-day Doctor Who December because it's so much work. I mean, I love it and I'm hyped for it, but it is a lot of work. And when I did tweet about that, I did get a few people tweet me back being like, well, you can do this. You can do this instead. You can do that. I also hope that you guys, maybe some of you don't realize, I'm not sure, but I also sacrifice a lot of my own time during the holidays. If you think I can do Doctor Who December and celebrate the holidays myself, you are wrong. No, I don't have time. So next year I'm probably looking forward to actually enjoying Christmas for once. But I'm very excited this year, and I hope that you guys are excited as well. I have some really, I think, really great ideas for you guys. I don't know. Maybe you won't care as much, but I'm really excited for some of these videos. Just logistically, just letting you guys know, so I'm gonna be, if you guys didn't get the announcement, within those 31 days, I will be reacting to all of season 11, okay? So I'm gonna be reacting to all of the whole season at some point in, kind of a mix in there. And the other days, I'm not going to tell you a damn thing about. But I think you'll like it. Just so you guys know, it'll all be covered in Doctor Who December, except the special. And I'm gonna be caught up with you guys for not a lot of time, a very short amount of time. I feel like I'll be caught up with you guys because I will get to, throughout the season and to the finale within December, and then the special's gonna air, and then I'll be behind again. Will I be watching the special live and getting that out super quick for you guys? No. January 1st is when I take my time off. And when they switched it from Christmas, because I was going to end like Doctor Who December on the special, and that would be the final day. But now that I'm gonna have to, I had to rework the whole schedule, and it was a thing, and I had to come up with something else to, it was a thing. And I know it's coming out on the 1st, but you guys will see it when I'm back from my break. I'm gonna be taking a break for a good portion of January, and yeah, sorry, but I'll be behind again for one episode. It's not that bad, but I'm sorry, but I can't. I'm really putting a lot of effort into this, and I think once I get past December 31st, I will feel exhausted, and there's no way that I could just, you know. So I'm just letting you guys know, and then, you know, whenever I get back from break, I'll do that, and then I'll probably do a review at some point, like after the fact of that special, just so you guys kind of have an idea of that sort of schedule. I'm very excited for Doctor Who December. I'm also really kind of sad because I feel like it's kind of an end of an era on my channel a little bit. I don't think it's going to be the same when I watch episodes live. I don't know. Maybe not, but I'm kind of sad that it's all sort of coming to an end. And it's been 3 years. It was my Who-niversary yesterday, if anybody was keeping track. Thank you to everybody who wished me a happy Who-niversary. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm kind of sad that it's all coming to the end, so I want to savor every moment of Doctor Who December and stuff like that. So I hope that you guys are excited for it. I'm sorry that I'm ranting a little bit too much, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!